say the game is getting old. Monday morning and your coffee's cold. Life is not what you want it to be.
So we're going to be turning this on, and then we're going to here. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Hi everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. It's me, Jay Izzo, your host, and oh boy, do we have a great show. Well, I'm telling you, this is a great show. I know, I say it every week. Jay, you always say to us, it's a great show. I know, but the guests, they're amazing. So of course it's going to be a great show. I want to just tell you something, though. This show is going to be, I've said this before each other shows, right? This is going to be a powerful show, and they have been, right? This is going to be a powerful show. Everybody, get your friends, get your enemies, get the people you haven't forgiven, get the people that you're still on the border about forgiving, and get them on the show, okay? Tell them to download the podcast or watch us live, because as you know, we do this show live on Facebook, and so tell them to get over here and watch, listen, right, to the show, because we have Marianne Clyde. She is a licensed therapist, and she wrote this book. I know you can't see it on the podcast, but everybody else could see it. It's called Zentivity, and it's how to eliminate chaos, stress, and discontent in your workplace. Is there anybody out there who would like to keep the chaos, keep your stress, and be discontented in your workplace? If you would like to keep those things in your life, would you please just leave the show now? Because that would be the best thing for you, is because you really love chaos, you like stress, and you really want to choose to be more discontented. So if that's you, then this show is probably not for you. However, if you want to eliminate chaos, stress, and discontent in your workplace and in your life and in your career or your business, you're going to want to watch and listen to Marianne Clyde talk about Zentivity in the workplace, because I'm telling you, this book, and it's so powerful. You're going to love this book. But before we get started, let's do what we do every week, and let's check in with you with the 4 areas of your life, right? We are 4-part people. We are physical people, we are mental people, we are emotional people, and we are spiritual people, all right? And, every day you are somewhere in those 4 areas. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being miserable, 10 being outstanding, where are you physically today? If you had to put a number on it, right? Where are you physically? Are you eating right? Are you doing the right things? Are you getting the right amount of exercise? What are you doing? How are you feeling? How are you doing all those things physically? Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being awful, 10 being I am outstanding. What's your number today? You got that? Okay, that's your first number. All right, second number. Where are you at right now mentally? And what do I mean by that? I mean, how are you feeding your brain? Right? There's 2 sides to our brain, right? We've got a right side, which is this creative side, and we got this left side that's a more logical side. What are you doing to feed your brain? Right? I am so privileged to get to do a show like this, because I read a book a week, right? And so, over the course of the year, and of course I get to interview experts, over the course of the year, I read about 40 books a year, 40 books a year. And I have to tell you, it feeds my brain really good stuff, because they're all nonfiction. They're helping me grow and learn. And of course, Zentivity has been one of those books that is in that category. I love it. What are you doing to feed your brain? Right? And by the way, when it comes to your brain, it's one of those organs that we have in the body that you can exercise forever. As long as there is breath in your lungs, you can exercise your brain. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being awful, 10 being great, how are you doing mentally? All right, got that number? So you got 2 numbers, right? Third number, how are you doing emotionally? What do I mean emotionally? Well, emotionally, here's what I'm talking about. I'm asking you emotionally, like, do the little things tick you off? Are you stressed easily because something happens in your life or a circumstance comes up? How well are you able to control your emotions? Better yet, how well are you able to relate to the emotions of others? Right? All that combined we call an emotional quotient. Sometimes you'll hear it called emotional intelligence, right? So I'm going to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being miserable, 10 being amazing. Where are you at emotionally right now? Right? And then what are you going to do about it? Right? So all these things, right? You got a number and they go, what are you going to do about it? Right? And the whole object here is not to get, if you're a 4, it's not to get to a 10 today, okay? If you could get to a 4.5, right? If you could just do something right now to get yourself to a 4.5, that's what I want you to do, okay? So, all right, let's talk about the 4th area of your life, and that's the spiritual realm, right? And we have a lot of people go, well, I don't believe in spiritual stuff. Folks, you do. You just don't call it spiritual. I promise you that there's something that you do that centers you, gives you a sense of peace, gives you a sense of somewhere that you can go that feels like you have faith in, that helps. Sometimes it's karma, right? For some people it's karma. Sometimes people, believe in nature. Sometimes people believe in God. And if that is, I always ask people, how's that relationship going for you, right? So the key is here, what is it that brings you back to center? What is it that brings you back to a peaceful state? All right? And it can't be explained by science. It generally isn't, because there's so much that science... Listen, I have an MS degree. All right? That's a science degree, Master of Science degree. I can just tell you, we just can't explain everything with science, right? So let's look at the spiritual realm for a second. All right? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? All right, so you have 4 numbers, right? You have your physical number, your mental number, your emotional number, and your spiritual number, right? Think of those 4 numbers as the legs of a table, right? Try eating off of an uneven table. That's hard, right? But what if all your numbers are really low? Well, that's really even more difficult, isn't it? Because if you're sitting in a normal chair trying to eat off of a normal table that's that low, it's really difficult to do. The whole object there is to be well-balanced and to bring yourself up to that height of level. And by the way, I'm going to tell you, if somebody's going to help you do that in all 4 areas of your life, it's going to be my next guest. Her name is Marianne Clyde. And Marianne Clyde, by the way, I am so privileged about Marianne Clyde, because I've interviewed her first when I was on the Jiggy Jaguar Experience show nationally, and I was on her show that she does, and I think of her, even though she's this amazing licensed therapist, right? She is a friend. So, but I'm going to do the classic bio, the bio that I do, right? So, Marianne Clyde is an expert in mental health in the workplace. She speaks to businesses and associations about empowerment, team building, and relationship networking. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's been in practice for over 28 years, although you wouldn't believe it if you looked at her. Energizing speaker. She's a dauntless world traveler. She's lived in Japan for over 8 years. She's been in at least probably 20 different countries. She teaches about recovery, trauma, personal empowerment, interpersonal relationships. She's also, by the way, Northern Virginia's 2018 Northern Virginian of the Year, right? Because she's also was the owner, I should say, of the Marianne Clyde Center for Holistic Psychotherapy. And she's an amazing person. She's also the author of this book called Zentivity. And she is brought to you today by, of course, our sponsor, which is Enline Business Brokers and Advisors. Look, if you're going to sell your business, you need an expert to do that for you. So why not go with the people that even the experts know, and that is Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. I know Jeff Snell. I know their people. They're amazing people. If you got to sell your business and you want it done with complete confidentiality, you need to call Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. That's Inline, ENLIGN.com. Check them out. Also, need to say we got a brand new sponsor, Linda Craft and Team Realtors. We want to thank them for sponsoring A New Direction. Thank you, Linda Craft and Team Realtors. If you're looking for real estate needs, why don't you just go to Linda Craft, LINDACRAFT.com. And this week's T-shirt shout of the week goes to locally owned business, Dacno.com. Check them out because they gave me the T-shirt. And if you want to have your T-shirt from your company on this show, just send an extra large T-shirt to A New Direction, and just contact me directly. We'll do that. So now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, and by the way, thank you all for joining us live. John, Ken, Buddy, Jeff, JR, and Joey. I want to thank you all for joining us right now. Please welcome to the show, Marianne Clyde. Marianne, welcome to the show.
Jay, what a delight to be with you again. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited too. I told you off the air before we started, the first time I interviewed you, I did not read the whole book. I kind of perused it.
And I couldn't even tell.
Well, I'm glad that you couldn't, but I didn't. And so this time, though, I read the book from cover to cover because I promise all my authors that I interview on this show that I will read the book cover to cover, and then I give them an Amazon review. And
wow.
It's my guarantee to every author that gets to do the show. And when I first read this book, Zentivity, I thought to myself, well, I know it's going to be good, and because there's certain elements of it I knew that were going to be great. And then I went and said, I didn't realize it was going to be this good. And I didn't realize just how powerful this book was. As a matter of fact, it was so powerful, I thought maybe the book was just for me, and it really wasn't for everybody else. Because when we're talking about eliminating chaos, stress, and discontent in the workplace, right, and you have a name like Zentivity, there's a part of you that goes, and then I went, oh boy, it's so much more than that. So let's talk about Zentivity. Let's define that right out of the gate. How do you define Zentivity?
Okay, well, Zentivity is just kind of an environment that you reach in your personal life or your business life, in your office. That's just everything runs like a well-oiled machine. That the chaos does not take over. It's there. It's always going to be there, but it doesn't take over what's happening in your world. You can't control chaos all the time, but you can control your response to it. And that's kind of the state of Zentivity, is acknowledging it's there and not being sucked dry by it.
Mm-hmm. So you divided this book up into parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which, by the way, so you had parts and then you had chapters in those parts. And the part one is things that keep us stuck. And I am a big fan of helping people get unstuck. That especially businesses.
Yeah,
when I walk into businesses.
That's what you do with your books and so forth.
Yeah, right. Is help people
Absolutely.
get unstuck, right? And so, in chapter 1, you come right out of the blocks, and your title of your chapter is Raising Awareness. And I just want to read the very first sentence, right? Because if this doesn't blow you away, people, nothing else will. Approximately, as of 2009, this is a 2009 statistic. Approximately 1 million U.S. employees miss work each day to workplace stress.
Yeah.
Right? Whoa. So we're raising awareness. Help us out here, Marianne.
Absolutely. That's why I loved the way you started the show. Is one way we have to nurture our awareness is become aware of how we're responding to our environment. And what you did was you slowed everybody down for just a minute or two to say, okay, how are you doing? Not just, oh, I'm fine, because that's the only 4-letter F word that was never allowed in my office. That's a terrible word. When somebody says, I'm fine, that just means shut up and go away. And you made them stop. You made the audience stop and say, how are you doing physically? Mm-hmm. Now, how are you doing mentally? Mm-hmm. Now, how are you doing emotionally? Mm-hmm. And how are you doing spiritually? Because we glom it all together and go, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm all right. I'm great. And the fact is, we need to be aware of what's going on in our lives, because that huge amount of people who miss work every day because they're stressed. Mm-hmm. A lot of physical, illnesses happen because of stress. We get our immune system all screwed up, and then we'd have to get sick and stay home, and or we just can't handle the pressure at work, and so we take a mental health day, which I actually think is okay too.
Here's the thing. That and we're going to talk about this more in detail, but I think people miss the emotional physical connection, right? So we get stressed, and because you talk about this in the book, we get stressed, the emotions become overwhelming, and we actually talk ourselves into getting sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely we do.
And
you are correct.
And so what happens is, but I think, like what you said in this first chapter of the book, which I think is powerful, right, is awareness is the first step to change.
Absolutely. If you don't know what's wrong, you can't fix it. And that's
so simply elegant. That's so simply.
Isn't it though? I mean,
it is.
That's what my whole message is, just pretty basic, because life isn't all that complicated if you break it down as neatly as you did in the first few minutes of your show. Just sit down, see how you're doing, and then we'll cope with it. If you're not doing well physically, let's go take a walk outside. If you're not doing well mentally, go do a Sudoku. There's tangible things you can do in your life to change any one of those things in a moment, because our life is run by the way we think, not by what everybody else is doing.
Right.
You can't control them. I'm sure you figured that out, right?
Right. Well, no, I mean, it's like listen. We all know the Albert Einstein quote, right? Complaining and doing the same things over and over again, expecting a whole different result, is insanity, right? And
right.
so
right.
yet we get into this stressful mode. And you tell me if I'm wrong here, because you're the therapist. I'm just a psychological professional who tries to figure this thing out. But anyway, you're the therapist, the licensed therapist. I mean, but we have this tendency to think that if I just stay with it and do the things that I've always done, something's going to change.
Right. It's really magical thinking.
It's really magical.
It's like we spend our life wishing our spouse would start paying more attention to us. We spend our life wishing the boss would pay attention to our ideas. We spend our life wishing our kids would actually listen. And then we yell about it and we fuss about it, and you've ever heard the saying, I'm sure you have, what you resist persists. And it just means whatever you're fighting against, you're empowering, because because you're encouraging someone or something to fight back and cause resistance. And if you just learn little judo move emotionally to just kind of let the event kind of go past you, over you, under you, around you, through you, whatever, then you can move on and you don't lose your balance. You have to maintain that balance, that inner sense of zentivity, shall we say?
I love that.
And that's just it's like a taekwondo course.
We're talking with Marianne Clyde, author of this outstanding book, Zentivity. It's not a long read, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a powerful read, and it's like having her right next to you. It really is. I was thinking about how I describe this book. This book is going to help your business in so many ways, because it's done in a very loving way. It's done in a very joyful way, and it's done in a way that'll bring you peace and kindness, and it's done gently, and it's patiently done. It's got a faithfulness to it, and it's going to bring about self-control. It's just a super book, powerful book. And she's brought to you today by Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. If you want to sell your business or you're looking to buy a business, why not call the people who know what they're really doing? And that's the folks at Inline. Contact them at enlign.com. And also Linda Craft and Team Realtors when you're interested in selling your home or maybe buying a home. And it doesn't matter where it's at in the world, contact the experts. They know their business. Contact them at Linda Craft, Linda Craft, Craft.com. And they're sponsoring today's New Direction and Marianne Clyde, and we are so grateful for them. One of the things that you say in this chapter, and this is the connection between stress and work, is you said when people are experiencing stressors in their personal lives, it is very difficult to stay focused on the task at hand. And when they aren't focused, things fall through the cracks, deadlines are missed, and sick leave gets out of hand.
Right.
Expand that.
It's just when you can't pay attention to what you're supposed to be doing if I sort of get a picture of like Pigpen from the old Charlie Brown
Peanuts,
commercial, the old comic strip, because it's like you've got all this stuff going around in your head. You just don't have the bandwidth to effectively complete whatever your task is at hand. Ultimately, somewhere, it's going to weaken and collapse. And yeah, you can do it for a while. You can fight your way through it and just ignore the stressors for a while. But eventually it chips and chips and chips away at your sense of self, your sense of well-being, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being, and your emotional well-being. And you get scattered. And anybody knows that when you're scattered, you've got too many plates that you're spinning. And you might be good at spinning 1 or 2 or even 10, but once somebody adds that last plate, right, everything comes crashing down. It's that straw that breaks the camel's back. Right. And so you don't have to get effective with spinning plates. You have to get effective with spinning your own thought process in an effective way. Mm-hmm. How to calm yourself down, how to refocus yourself, what to do when things are going awry.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of times, you know, you and I both coach, you know, managers and CEOs, and you and I have been in those environments, and sometimes it's very difficult for the CEO of a company or the management of a team to understand the connection between the personal and the professional. And and you and I have both written articles in Entrepreneur Magazine related to this and other articles that we've written. And I keep trying to tell people the connection, but you cannot separate the personal from the business. It's a really neat dream, but it's just, I mean, if you're going through a divorce, try compartmentalizing that in your job.
Right.
It's just, it doesn't happen. And somehow people think that they've done it successfully, but they really don't know that they haven't. And so they go, well, you know, I've literally heard CEOs say, well, I've gone through a divorce and it didn't affect my job. Oh, no, you were a tyrant when you were going through your divorce, right? You know?
Exactly. We think it's like, well, my parents raised me this way and I turned out all right. I mean, there's so many people that say that, and I'm thinking, really?
Yeah, right.
Are you really okay? You know, or were you always okay? No, we have to recognize when we're hurting, when we're stressed, when we're in a bad situation or a bad relationship, and learn to deal with the matter at hand. Learn to recognize our emotions, feel them, and let them pass. Because if we don't recognize the anger, the resentment, the bitterness that we're kind of squashing down, ultimately it kind of reeks out of our lives, either through our health, through our bad relationships, or our reactivity. I mean, heaven, look at the reactivity that's all around us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't even like to watch the news anymore because it's not really reporting, it's reactivity.
Yeah.
And reactivity never accomplishes anything constructive.
Totally
unless your house is on fire, and then the reactivity to get out of the house is probably helpful.
Right. And yet that's even planned, hopefully.
Right.
Hopefully you have a plan so it's not completely reactive. So, one of the things we touch, I'm going to throw out a psychological term because we're bouncing all around it without saying it. And it's the danger of mirror imaging. Right? It's our danger of saying, I've done it. Look at me. This is what I've done. But here's the real danger of that. It's not just saying, look what I've done, you can do it too. It's also understanding that your mirror isn't nearly as clear as you'd like to think it is.
That is a great point. Great point. We see in a mirror dimly these days. We just don't see ourselves like other people do.
No, we don't. We don't see. We're talking with Marianne Clyde, author of Zentivity, great book, How to Eliminate Chaos, Stress, and Discontent in Your Workplace. So I want to read this definition of Zentivity to the folks, and then we're going to talk about how in the workplace. The 4 things that can keep you from Zentivity. So Zentivity is peaceful, calm environment in which employees are actively engaged in the creative and productive process so that they can make more money and everyone can be happy and well motivated. Okay? Right? I mean, who doesn't want that? If there's anybody out there that doesn't want a peaceful, calm environment in which employees are actively engaged in the creative and productive process so that they can make more money and everyone can be happy and well motivated and you're more profitable, who doesn't want that? If you don't want that, stop listening. Okay? Just stop right now. Okay. So there's 4 things, though, that it tends to that you talk about that keep us from that Zentivity. And it's feelings of captivity, negativity, projectivity, and reactivity. Right?
Yeah.
And so, in you talk, captivity makes, if there's sometimes I can feel trapped. I don't know about other people, but captivity talk about feeling trapped in this whole trapped escape process.
And there's so many times when people don't really realize they feel trapped.
Right.
They feel trapped in a job, trapped in a marriage, trapped in, not being able to get opportunities. One of my very greatest examples is Viktor Frankl, who was a prisoner in one of the concentration camps. He was a psychiatrist, and his whole philosophy, he survived. And one of the reasons he survived, one of the main reasons, is because you can be captive physically and not be captive mentally. And that's when you know that you have control over your thoughts, over your attitude. That sounds like a cliche, but it's actually very, very true. And my favorite quote of Viktor Frankl is, between stimulus and response, there is a space.
Yep.
And in that space lies my freedom to choose.
Right.
And we have a freedom to choose how we're going to approach this life. And so, if you feel trapped in your job, take an assessment and say, what do I need to do to feel not trapped?
Right.
How do I get out of this feeling of being trapped? How do I learn to express my freedom within this environment? It all depends on how you ask the question. Oh my gosh, I feel so trapped.
Right.
Why is my boss keeping me trapped? You're going to stay trapped that way. But if you say, how am I going to move on? What am I going to do? It's actually just taking personal responsibility for the way you think about a situation. That's where your freedom lies.
I love it. And I want to just jump in with you on this, because even when I was teaching psychology classes in college, right, and I was teaching my students, I would say to them, you have a choice. On everything that happens to you, you have a choice of how you're going to respond. And I said, you could come up and you could kick me as hard as you want in the shin. I still have a choice of how I'm going to respond to that.
Right.
I mean, seriously, I do. It may be hard. I'm not saying that it's easy. But ultimately, if you kick me as hard as you can, I can still choose a different response in there. And
of course.
And I think we forget that we've got more power than we think we have.
Yeah, I think what you said is recognizing that it's not easy.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to do would be to smack somebody back, knock them over, to react and let your body just respond.
Right.
But if you can embrace the situation for what it is, and I really want your audience to know that we're not tossing out cliches here. These things are really, really possible, but they take practice. Yes, your shin is going to hurt. Yes. Let's just admit your shin is going to hurt, but you can curse that person out. You can throw them out of your office. You can call them names, or you can take a deep breath and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And open a dialogue. Not that everybody's open to dialogue, mind you, but as long as you're willing, that makes a difference.
The next thing that you talk about is negativity. And one of the things that you talk about as negativity is that we can be addicted to negativity.
Oh, yeah. The interesting thing is, when you find out that you can be addicted to emotions, not just, we all know negative people.
Right.
They find the pothole instead of the smooth road in everything. But you can also be addicted to things like being in love, the sensation of being in love. That might feel like a good feeling, but then you're always chasing that feeling, and you don't feel happy unless you have more of that drug of being in love. You can, we get some kick out of being angry. We can get a sort of surge of energy by road rage.
Right.
Mind is not good energy, but I mean it it keeps us moving on. It keeps us
Sure.
reacting and so forth. But the idea is all those things fizzle out. The things that we have to choose not to be addicted to anything, not just drugs and alcohol, not just work, not just accolades and appreciation. We need to learn to be content with life taking its side roads, life taking its detours. Nothing is predictable. Should we say death and taxes? But you know how that goes.
I know how that goes too. We're talking with Marianne Clyde, author of the book Zentivity. You can find it at Amazon favorite bookstore. It's a great book. It's by Balboa Press. It's a fabulous book. This is literally how to eliminate chaos, stress, and discontent in your workplace. And we're kind of walking our way slowly through the book because there's just this book is packed. I'm actually going to skip the last two areas because we're going to go to the chapter 2 and then we're going to move on because I got to tell you there's these 10 things I got to get to in this book that are so powerful and that we're connecting up. But you can do that. By the way, she's brought to you today by Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. They have literally helped thousands of people in the purchase and sale of their business. When you are looking to sell your business and you want to do it with complete and total confidentiality, don't call anyone else. Call my friends at Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. You can find more information at enlign.com. And by the way, tell them that you heard them talked about on A New Direction. And also our new sponsor we want to welcome to the show, Linda Craft and Team Realtors. When you're ready to buy, sell your home or anywhere in the world, whether it's residential or commercial, you need to talk to the folks at Linda Craft and Team Realtors. I'm telling you, these folks are amazing. They are experts in their field. There's a reason why they say Linda Craft and Team knows their business. You need to check them out. Go to Linda Craft, Linda Craft, CRAFT.com, and they're bringing Marianne and, of course, Zentivity today. So I'm going to move on. Because we could sit there. I'm gonna tell you, we could get stuck in chapter 1 and never get out of chapter 1. So, and chapter 2. By the way,
let me just say though, Jay, because I think that's important when you get addicted to negativity or anything else.
Right.
It actually changes your brain.
Oh yeah.
And just like if you were addicted to drugs, just like if you were addicted to alcohol. And you don't want your brain to be stuck there. Whatever little kick you get from negativity or anger or rage, you just don't want to be stuck there. So as you suggested, we'll move on to the 10 things then, and we can talk about how to change your brain in a good way.
Okay. So I don't like to get too psychologically geeky, but I'm going to because I used to teach brain anatomy and function. And so to some nursing students and folks. And I love brain anatomy. I especially like, okay, wait, folks. I know, don't turn it off. I'm about to say something here that's going to be really nerdy and geeky. So don't turn me off. I'm about to say I enjoy the vesicular release of neurotransmitter. Okay? I just said it. Okay?
Woo-hoo.
Whatever. Yes, you go, what was that? Never mind. It's a really geeky term to talk about that we have these 5,000 chemicals that run through 100 billion little microscopic areas that make us function normally or not so normally. And I love that because when we talk about addiction, and we always focus on drugs or alcohol or something else, but we don't understand that we can be addicted to anything and it changes those chemical pathways and it changes how many chemicals stay or don't stay in those areas. And that's really the heart of addiction, physically, from a physical standpoint. I'm not even talking about the emotional, mental pieces, but from a physical standpoint, what's happening in the brain. You have all these chemicals, and if they're out of order, or they're out of sync, or they don't get resucked back up into the right dendrite, or they stay in too long, or whatever the case may be, it changes the way we function, think, and it also can create all sorts of addictive processes, which is why emotions can be addictive, or at least part of the reason why.
Right. Listen to this guy. I want all your viewers to hear you because you're a genius.
I am not a genius.
But that, it's just true. So it's just an important thing to understand. It is a physical addiction.
It is.
And it's something that happens in the body. So thank you for saying that. That's great.
Yeah, no, I love that stuff, and I can get geeky all day. I really can, because I do have that part of me. Here I am, I wear my cowboy hat and my cowboy boots and belt buckles, and here I get psychologically geeky. Um, in chapter 2, you talk about
keeps you balanced.
Yeah, well, it is. I'm a little bit of a maverick. Actually, I'm a lot of a maverick. Chapter 2, you say you can't run when your feet are stuck. And there's one thing I want to talk about in here because you talk about a number of things. But one of the things that business owners need to wrap their minds around is that your employees can get stuck. And one of them is them living in fear.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Talk about that.
Really, if you break it down, my thought is you're either living in love, which is the greatest power there is, and that's not all touchy-feely. That's a positive power that we have within us, or you're living in fear. And people might think that fear is a good thing, like I'm afraid of my boss. Well, that's a good thing because if you're not, you're going to get fired. We teach our kids to be afraid of the traffic so they don't run out in the traffic. No, you teach your kids to be wise about traffic. You teach your kids about what traffic can do, what a car can do if you run out in front of it, and why you don't want to do that, and make good choices. You don't have to live in fear. Fear is not a good thing. Fear is a debilitating thing, and it causes reactivity. And you want your employees being productive from a creative place, from an energetic, a good energetic place, not a place of fear. I mean, I know some bosses do want you in a place of fear, and I've known bosses like that. And but if you allow your people to be free, who they really are, tapped into that source of love and joy and peace that really lives within each of us, that is much more powerful, much more productive, and much more contagious than fear is. Well, fear is very contagious as well, but it's more contagious in a constructive way.
Right. One of the things we talk about contagiousness, right? And we talk about fear can be contagious. Negativity can be so contagious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, once it gets into the workplace, wow. Because I consult businesses, and I've watched this happen, where one negative person can absolutely just destroy the morale.
Well, and it normalizes then the negativity, and so it can become a culture in a workplace, and with gossip, things like gossip and fear and negativity, those are all insidious things that creep into all the little nooks and crannies of a work environment and a work culture, and destroy it from within, because it enhances division. And division is so much different than diversity. Division divides and conquers.
Right.
Diversity of ideas and cultures and all kinds of stuff keep things vibrant and alive as long as it's done from a place of love and joy and peace. And again, I'm not saying that from a mamby-pamby, wimpy sort of way. Those things are genuine, and I know you know that, genuine powers that energize much more powerfully than negativity. And you're right, it will destroy the culture of a company, negativity.
It does, and not only that, I don't. People need to understand that when you have negativity in your company, that you're looking at mutiny. Yeah, it's a form of mutiny.
Yeah.
And people go, well, that's harsh. Are you saying that because of the negativity? Think about it. Do you want positive, creative people, or do you want negative, angry, gossiping people? What's going to make your company more profitable? It's a simple question. I'll let you think about it for a second, everybody out there. Which one do you want? Which one do you think is going to make you more profitable? Positive, happy, creative people, or negative, gossiping, angry people who talk behind your back. Which one's going to make you more profitable? I'll give you a second. Okay. So I think, right, you absolutely know. All right, I gave you the second. And it's mutiny at your business. Your business is being sabotaged by negativity. And when I was reading this, and I was like going, man, people do not understand. Business owners don't understand. You cannot allow this to continue.
Right.
I'm sorry, but you're never going to be, as a business, as successful as you can be when you allow negativity to take it over. I'm a little passionate about that. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm a little passionate about that. Okay. So
well, it's so true. It's if anything you allow that gets into it's like water seeping in the basement. Ultimately, it's going to flood the basement. You can't let it in. Right. And it has to start at the top of the business. I mean, a business owner or a boss or a supervisor has to learn to turn negatives into positives. Open communication to discuss things like that. Right. Because if you shut down, because one of the 10 things we wanted to talk about, one of the 10 principles is communicate effectively. Right. If you don't acknowledge the problem and become aware of what the problem is and don't talk about it, then you're just going to kind of shut everybody down until they explode. Right. And then that negativity is going to seep out the edges and destroy that business.
Love it. We're talking with Marianne Clyde, licensed therapist, the Zentivity right now, and we're talking about, listen, you want to get rid of the chaos, you want to get rid of the stress, you want to get rid of the discontent in your workplace. This book, Zentivity, is extraordinarily powerful. It's also going to be insightful for you personally, by the way. And what I found about this book, as I read this book through over and over again, especially certain parts of it that were speaking loudly to me, and she just did it again. I'll tell her after the show what it was. Do you want to know? I'll tell you what it was. So she talked about not teaching your kids fear, and I grew up a little bit of being taught fear, right? Not respecting the things so much as you need to be afraid of this or afraid of that. Okay, so I'm just going to come clean and be authentic. And it's filtered into my life as an adult. Just going to be honest, being authentically honest. And so I have to be very cautious because it's made me more aware that sometimes I can have these fearful thoughts and fearful emotions in certain situations and with certain things. And just because I'm 6 feet 5 inches tall and 260 pounds doesn't mean, and I'm in the gym, 5 days a week plus, doesn't mean that you can't be afraid, by the way. All right. Any guy who says they're not, it's wrong and it's a liar. Okay. I just called you out. So I'm just telling you that really hit me hard there. So this gives me the opportunity to say, let's become proactive, chapter 3.
There you go.
Because
there you go. Love your authenticity, Jay. I really do.
You don't make change by continually talking about how bad the problem is. As a matter of fact,
that
makes
true.
things worse.
Yeah.
I think a really brilliant author by the name of Marianne Clyde said that in her book. Talk about that.
Genius.
She is a genius. Yeah, talk more about that.
Talk about. I'm sorry.
No. Talk more about we can't talk. Just keep talking about how bad the problem is. We got to be proactive.
Right. It's like kicking a dead horse. It doesn't do anything. It's when you're, because another little cliche that I know everybody knows is what you focus on increases. So if you're going to focus on the zit on your face, that's all you're going to see when you're looking in the mirror. And it's that is true in every area of our life. So if we recognize that, if we always talk about how the boss does this or how we don't get enough time off or we're not making enough money, we should always say, how can I change that? What can I do about that? The only thing we have control over, Jay, you know this better than anybody, is what we do about something. Right. And as long as you keep pounding on, we're not making enough money, we're not making enough enough widgets, we're not, whatever we're not doing, you focus on that, it doesn't do anything. You have to say, what can I do about that? And the smallest tiny little change will pan out into a huge return, and just one thing at a time. You know, it's just like you can't lose 10 pounds in one day. But if you start changing your habits a little bit at a time, ultimately, even if the scale goes up and down, you're going to notice a change. And the same thing in a business culture. If you've had a business culture that's, say, nobody's allowed to talk here, nobody's allowed to talk here, I hate working here, I'm not allowed to tell anybody what's wrong. You sit there and grumble about that.
Right.
You have to be the one to say, I'm going to go to the boss or the supervisor, and I'm going to say, what can we do about better communication? Can we have a suggestion box? Can we have a weekly staff meeting? Can we have just throw out suggestions, and every little thing you do that's proactive leads you closer to some sort of a solution.
Right. And you're right. You're right. And yet I can hear, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate here a little bit, okay? So I'm going to let you be Marianne Clyde, licensed therapist that you are. Play the devil's advocate here and go, yeah, but Marianne, look, I got to have things happen now because my business is in trouble. You know, you're telling me that this is going to be a long-term solution. What am I supposed to do now?
Great question. But any problem didn't happen overnight. Just like those 10 pounds we have to lose, that didn't happen overnight either. And so you just have to embrace the situation for what it is. It doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It doesn't mean that you have to come up with a solution immediately, but you have to have a plan, and it's going to take a while. And the only thing you can change overnight is your attitude, and that's, I would say, 90% of the solution.
I love it. Marianne Clyde, author of Zentivity, right? You want to eliminate the chaos, the stress, the discontent in your workplace? You need to get this book. It's awesome. You can get it on Amazon. Matter of fact, let me just tell you something. Why don't you do what they do at Linda Craft and Team Realtors? They actually read a book with the team, and why don't you choose this as a book that your team is going to read together and talk through it and maybe get at some of the deeper rooted issues that are going on in your business, because this book is going to be extraordinarily helpful. And by the way, I don't care if you're the CEO, the manager, or if you are the person who, you know, cleans the place at the end of the day. This book's going to be great. You're going to love the book. It's awesome, and you're going to really enjoy it. So, okay, I get so frustrated. You know what makes me frustrated is that we're talking here, right? We haven't even got to the meat of the book.
We haven't gotten to those 10 essential principles.
No, the 10 essential principles, right? We haven't even got there yet, and I'm like, we're never going to make it through. There is no way we're going to make it through all the 10 essential principles of really connecting, principles to keep you centered and focused, which is chapter 4, which is, by the way, only chapter 4, because there's 10 chapters in this book, folks, okay? And we're not going to get there. Okay, I'm just telling you right now. So if you want to find out what happens, okay, in this book, Zentivity, if you want to find out what happens, you're going to have to buy the book. Okay, that's what you're going to have to do, is what you're going to have to do, because it's great. So there are 10 principles that can be applied, what you say, and I'm quoting you, these 10 principles that can be applied at home and at work, and they are foundational for living a life of Zentivity. And here they are. And I'm just going to say them, and then we'll talk through as many as we can talk through.
Okay.
Connect to your creator, know your true identity, nurture awareness, breathe, respect, practice gratitude, limit judgments, detach, communicate clearly, forgive quickly. Which one would you like to start with? I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you have carte blanche here, because these are your 10. What would you like to start with?
Well, the 3 foundational principles about connecting to your creator, and know your true identity, and then nurturing awareness. Those are the things we already spent some time talking about you can't make any change unless you're aware.
Right.
But the connecting with your Creator is taking, and you had said when you were checking people's spirituality number
right.
for the day, it doesn't have to be a certain religion, a certain type of meditation,
right.
but some reflective time, and I like to call it a meditation time
right.
or a contemplative time, every single day. And if you can do it twice a day, that's great. Simply focusing on your connection to the Creator of the universe, however you view that, whether it's nature, whether it's God. But there's a stillness and a quietness that we must connect to, because the world is noisy. The world is loud. Chaos is crazy. And we have to be still and know that that's not who we are. When we connect and dig our roots deep, deep, deep into that connection with all creation and our Creator, then we can know our true identity. Because in my view, that Creator, that God, if you will, is love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and creativity and wisdom and all those things. And if I am one with that energy, I also am love and joy and peace and wisdom and creativity. That's my true nature. And that's where fear comes to pull us away. And the world, the chaos around us, pulls us away from who we really are, which is why it's important to take a few minutes every day to connect to the love, the joy, the peace, the power, the creativity that is the most productive part of us, the thing that makes the seasons change, the things that makes the leaves grow back on the trees this time of year. It's a power that's innate in us, and we must connect to that, because if I know I am whole, perfect, and complete, lacking nothing, the chaos can't change that. And I just need to learn to become aware, principle 3, of what's going on around me and who I am inside, and always choose who I am inside rather than the chaos. I can make a difference. I can change my thinking. I have to be aware, is my thinking, as you pointed out earlier, is it negative? Am I pointing out at the negative stuff? Am I hounding on what's wrong? Or am I asking the question, okay, yes, we have a uncomfortable situation here, but what can I do about that? And the proper awareness leads you to ask a question that moves you in a productive direction. And then the next principle, the just breathe, which you know is my favorite.
I know it is.
I mean, that's my $1 million advice, no matter
I know it is.
what.
You're going to write a book. You're going to write a book just called Just Breathe. I'm convinced of it.
Just breathe.
And it's going to have a picture of your tattoo on your wrist. That's what it's going to be.
There you go. There's a thought. And so those are just the ways we deal with the world. Breathe and detach. Anytime you're kind of feeling pressured to react to something, all you have to do is do what Viktor Frankl said, and remember that between the stimulus and response, there's a space. And that's created when you breathe and detach from the drama for just a second, so nobody can suck you in. So those are a couple more of the principles.
So I want. Okay. So first of all, let me say this: that you gave the example of the connecting to your Creator. It's like you've got a lamp, and you're holding the end of the cord, but it's not plugged into the wall. Yeah,
and you're yelling because it's dark.
And then you're mad because it's dark, right? Right. I mean, I started laughing, going, "Of course, that's the way we." Right? I'm holding the lamp, I'm holding the cord, but I'm not plugged into any sort of electricity. I mean, how do you expect it to work, right? And I love that. That was awesome. But then I do want to say that breathing and detaching were both powerful, because I found myself, when you were talking about the breathe part, we talk about how fast we move and that we got to get things done and we got to get the next thing done in our jobs. And there's always another thing. There's always one more thing. There's always another email. There's always another text message. There's always another deal that has to be brokered. There's always something, right?
Yeah.
And if we will just take a second, and I tried this, right? Because I was stressed out about some stuff, and I said, you know what? I just got to stop and breathe for a few minutes. Just focus on my breathing. Just breathe, right? And I said, okay, all right, just clear it out. Just don't worry about any stuff. Focus on the air coming through my nostrils, exhaling through my mouth. Just focus on that. And I was amazed at, you said, it's like breathing out all the crud. And it was amazing, just taking a few minutes. I wasn't even taking a long time. But it was so amazing how I was able to go, okay, I got this. Right? I got this. It's okay. This is me and my own mental, emotional stuff, my own thoughts, my own emotions taking control of my stress. And I thought to myself, man, if people in businesses just understood this simple process of just getting your people to breathe, we push so hard, but we could be so much more productive if we breathe.
Being busy is not a badge of honor. Everybody seems to think that it is. But here's one more example of where your authenticity and vulnerability make it so clear that I think that we need to add this message, before this show ends, and it's that, yes, you admitted you get stressed out. So do I. You admitted you had some childhood beliefs that you deal with on it. So do I. I don't want anybody to think that, okay, there's this pinnacle way you have to exist, and that until you get there, you're not good enough.
Right.
The point is, these are just markers and pointers to when you notice, when you're aware that you're stressed,
right,
you have some things that you can do.
Right.
You can be grateful. You can breathe. You can detach. You can connect to your Creator. You can communicate effectively. And last but not least, but you can forgive and let go quickly. And those things are important. They're just tools. Those 10 essential principles are just tools. We're perfect deep at our core, but in our humanity, we got some flaws.
No, that's so true. Can I ask you a question? Do you have a hard 3 o'clock stop or no?
No, I can keep going.
Can we go? Do you mind if we go a little over time?
No, not at all.
And folks who are listening, we're going to give you some bonus content. And for folks who are watching, you know what? I've got so many of you. I need to say thank you that are watching right now. Justin and Mark and James, hey, Joe, Lisa, Ed, Thora, Ann, Fred, Kevin, Thomas, Lloyd, Doug, and there's so many folks. There's so many who are tuning in right now to the show. I just want to say thank you for joining the show. We're gonna keep going here because I just feel like there's just information here that's just way too important that I don't want to move on past because there's a couple things I want to hit that I feel are important. And Marianne's going to be so gracious enough to give us a little overtime, and so I want to say thank you for doing that first of all, and. Also, I need to, you know what, sponsors, this is your lucky day because you're going to get some extra plug time. So so as we're doing this, we're going to go overtime here, but I want to thank Jeff Snell, who is the owner, COO of Inline Business Brokers and Advisors. They have been our corporate sponsor since day one, and they generously give us money to keep the show running. And by the way, we're always looking for more sponsors if you want to help sponsor the show because we're trying to help as many people as we can around the world. We had no idea. Jeff took a risk at Inline Business Brokers and Advisors, put some money on the table. He took a risk, and now we're in Africa. We're in Sweden. We are in all over the UK. We're in Germany, and people are downloading the show, and we are so grateful because we know we're helping a lot of people. India as well. And so I'm grateful for them. Listen, just tell them that you heard them. Send them an email or something just saying, hey, look, Nline. We heard you on A New Direction with Jay, and thank you so much for sponsoring the show. And just go to nline.com, ENLIGN.com, and contact them there. And then our new sponsor, Linda Craft and Team Realtors, we want to thank them for sponsoring the show. And they're a new sponsor, and we're always open up to sponsorships as well. And so just check them out because they can help you find the right real estate agent, a personable person, a real professional that can help you find your next home or sell your next home. Just go to lindacraft.com, LINDACRAFT.com, and they are bringing together Marianne Clyde in her book, Zentivity, How to Eliminate Chaos, Stress, and Discontent from the Workplace. And so the reason I wanted to keep going, and it's so thank you again, but there's I don't want to stop on respect and detach. Breathe and detach, because there's three other ones there. Well, actually, they're all. I could talk about any one of them for an hour, but there's practice gratitude, communicate clearly, and forgive quickly. Mm-hmm. And I really want to touch on why gratitude is so important in the workplace and how that translates.
Yeah, that's a great question, because, we were talking about how being addicted to negativity and other negative emotions can change our brain. Just like meditation on a regular practice can change your brain, gratitude on a regular practice can change your brain. And this can be as simple as choosing to think the first thing you wake up, 3 things you wake up for that you're grateful for, 3 things before you go to bed at night. And that kind of primes the pump. But in the workplace even, telling people that you're grateful for them, showing your appreciation to employees and supervisors and bosses and coworkers, it engenders a positive environment in the office. And it's so important because, as you were saying, when you focus on what's wrong, you create this negative environment in the office. All you have to do is start looking for one thing you're grateful for about each person. Right. Leave little sticky notes. Hey, I loved the way you closed that deal today. Hey, I really appreciate your taking that call for me when I was busy. Hey, thanks. I just wanted to let you know that you did a good job on that presentation. I have a friend who writes a written thank you note for any time that she's at a presentation I do, or any time that she's notices something in the newspaper or something like that. She sends a written thank you note all the time, and then little stickers that say "Good job." She's known for that. I think we should be known for our gratitude and our appreciation, and that in itself will change the environment in an office setting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I started a few years ago a gratitude journal where I would wake up and I initially did 5 things I was grateful for. I just listed them, right? Mm-hmm. And then I expanded it out when I woke up in the morning. It went to 7 things, but then I wrote out, I am grateful for. I just didn't list it. I literally wrote out, I am grateful for. And then then it expanded into why I was grateful for it. And what happened was I found everything starting to change in my life. I started to find that I not only was telling myself what I was grateful for, I was making it so real because I was telling myself why I was grateful for it. And
powerful.
And then my day was started with 7 things I was grateful for and why I was grateful for them. And I will tell you, Marianne, it started with things like the cup of coffee, my wife, my house, my dog, right? It started simply, and then it became who I am, my maverick-like personality that's creative and that is willing to challenge the status quo, and it got deeper, right? And
wow,
so I want to, because that gratitude thing is so powerful, and I can't emphasize enough that if folks would, and you talk about it in your book, but I can't emphasize enough, if folks will just practice this very simple technique of that she's talking about. 3 things I'm grateful for in the morning, 3 things I'm grateful for at the end of the day. It will expand you. If you will make it a habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it will expand you and grow you in ways you have no idea. Okay, that was my free plug. So read the book. Okay, there it is.
But that's great, because I do the same thing when I'm running. I can have one of 2 ways of looking at it, and it can be, I think I'm going to die. I think I'm going to die. I think I'm going to die. This is a stupid sport. This is, why do people do this? Where are those endorphins? And what I try to do is say, thank you, God, for my muscles and my tendons and my strong bones and my health and my wellness. And I start finding things about my physical body that, oh my God, I'm so old, is one way to look at it. And another one is, I'm so thankful that I can even do this.
Right.
And it just changes your attitude about a workout. Doesn't make me a good runner, but at least it makes me grateful for the fact that I'm doing it.
See, I love that. See, I tell people all the time, I'm a gym rat still to this day. And I tell people, I can't do what I did at 25, but I'll tell you what, I'm willing to go up against most 55-year-olds that I can think of. Right? I mean, I'm willing to do that. And matter of fact, there's a whole bunch of 35-year-olds I'm willing to take on. Okay?
There you go.
Right? Because I feel good. Right? Yeah, I have to fight through injury like everybody else, but I feel good. Okay. Let's talk about communicating clearly, because you say something about communication that I went, oh, nobody ever says this, right? And that you say something to the effect, I'm going to paraphrase. This is the Jay Izzo paraphrase, okay? So do with it what you will. But basically, you've got to be confident enough that what you say, you communicated. And stop regretting the way you communicate. Not that you're not going to work on communicating, not that you're not going to work on the art of listening, not that you're not going to work on all these things, but you got to stop feeling guilty about your communication. Is that a correct? Yeah, is that a correct analysis? Did I paraphrase that right?
That's a self-defeating behavior in anything, and we tend to do it as humans. Look at what I did wrong. I could have said that better.
Right.
Blah blah blah.
Right.
But the point is the fact that you're stumbling through it, the fact that you're willing to tell somebody, you're nervous, you're going to the boss, you're going to your coworker, and you're saying, it really bothers me when you stand at the door and talk to me when I have a project. I'd love to talk to you later, but I can't do it now. Then you can worry all day long whether they were offended or whatever. Right. But the idea is you opened up a line of communication and you stood up for yourself.
Right.
And it's an important thing to do. You do it as kindly as you can, as clearly as you can, and if you feel like you can do it better the next time, then do it better.
Right. Yeah, because I think what happens is we get so caught up into, did I say it right? Right? I mean, I get this all the time. Did I say it right? And I'm like, you can't worry about did you say it right. Yes, you can improve. Trust me, I'll never forget the first time I was learning Italian and as a second language. And I was learning Italian and I was studying these CDs, and one of them, the CDs I was studying from, was this guy by the name Michel Thomas, who is famous for educating people in foreign languages by CD. And he would say about Italian, when you're learning Italian, he would say, you have to think of it as a tennis match. And I found this to be true of every piece of communication, whether it's business communication, relationships, or whatever. He said, just get the ball over the net. Don't worry about making the perfect shot. Don't worry about making it perfectly, that your Italian's not perfect. Just get the communication over the net. And I think sometimes we make communication so complicated that we forget that you just got to get whatever you're communicating over the net. People will respond however they're going to respond. Right. Right? And I really think that that's true. I really do. And I think that's where you're kind of headed with this, because I think we get so worried, oh, I don't know if I said it the right way, and I don't know how they're going to take that. Just move on. Yeah.
Self-doubt is going to make you less powerful. And just what we're doing is we have to keep things being talked about, or nothing changes.
Right.
Nothing changes. And, of course be kind, of course.
Oh, of course, yes.
And respectful, of course.
Yes.
But, we do the best we can, and none of us does everything perfectly. Except for you, Jay, but,
So please do not give me that burden. I am begging you not to give me that burden. Well, one of the things we talk about, you talk about a couple things that you can do right now. By the way, if you want to do some things right now to improve your communication, Marianne talks about a few things in this book, in this chapter. She said, look, improve your listening skills, improve your eye contact, all right? Take ownership of your own feelings, right? And then speak to be understood, right? And how do we do that, right? Well, Marianne uses the famous quote, right? Which is, when we talk about speaking to be understood.
You mean from Stephen Covey?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Seek first to understand and then to be understood. God, most people don't do that.
It's so true. It's so true.
They keep pounding and pounding and pounding, thinking the harder they pound, somebody will then understand them. They don't realize that, no, they stopped listening long ago.
That's so true. So I want to talk about this last piece here, and this is forgive quickly.
Yeah.
Because I think forgiveness is powerful. And by the way, forgiveness in the workplace is huge. And people don't understand the connection between forgiveness and the workplace. But it's a big deal because we get resentful because of what somebody else did, or somebody got the promotion you didn't get, or the boss overlooked you, or they chewed you out, or something happened in the workplace. Trust me, there's forgiveness issues all over the workplace. You're just not thinking it that way. And I took a quote from your book today, and I posted it up last night, and I posted it up. I don't know where this quote came from. My wife is going to make me say, and I will say it because she did say it to me first. And I quoted unknown, but she said, you should have quoted me. And I said, yeah, I know, but you didn't originate it. She said, yeah, but I told you first. And I go, okay. So I'm giving her credit right now. And that quote is this: unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Oh, yes, I saw that on Facebook.
Right. Yeah. Well, that comes from you, right? The first sentence, right out of Forgive Quickly. And and I have to give credit to my wife for actually giving that to me first. Forgiveness is hard, but it's a must. Help us walk through it.
And it's a decision. It's what it I believe. If we forgive, it's for our own benefit. It never says what you did to me is okay, please do it again. It doesn't say maybe you don't even have to. It doesn't mean you don't have to file a lawsuit. Maybe you do. But it lets go of the responsibility and the bitterness that poisons your system. It leaves the vengeance up to God, if you will, or karma. And it doesn't mean you have to continue a relationship with that person. You might have to change your relationship with that person in some way. It doesn't mean that you don't file the lawsuit because maybe there is something that has to be paid for. But the idea is you let go the stress and the burden of hatred and vengeance. And that is what forgiveness is. And yes, you might have to do it over and over and over. As the resentment kind of creeps back up again. I thought I forgave that person. Well, if you thought you did, then do it again. There's nothing that says you can't remind yourself, nope, I let that go. Nope, right. I let that go.
Right.
If you have to say that 100 times throughout your life or more, it's just a decision for you, not necessarily for them.
And Marianne, you talk about this in the book when it comes to forgiveness. It affects our hormones. Holding on to unforgiveness affects us hormonally. And it changes, the anger and the stress of these things changes our blood sugar levels. It inhibits our immune systems. It can cause stomach or heart issues as well as other health problems. You said that in the book. And I try to explain to people that your unforgiveness is doing nothing to help you. And whether it's your personal life or your business life, if you walk into work hateful of your fellow employee or hateful of your boss, or you as a boss hate, right? It's never going, you're never going to be as successful as you possibly could be as long as that unforgiveness is there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people, like you had mentioned earlier, people think that's not an issue for the workplace, but it really, really is. Because we're always irritated with the people, in the next cubicle, or things just happen.
Right.
And they say stupid things, and we say stupid things, and we don't finish our projects on time sometimes, and they don't finish their. We just have to allow people to be human. We still have the high expectations, of course, for productivity and so forth. And there are times when forgiveness means, hey, I know you didn't do that project again for the fifth time. Right. It may need to move on from their job, right. But the point is, you still don't hold that bitterness.
Right.
You take action, but don't hold the bitterness.
Right.
It's okay to fire somebody, but you don't fire them in hatred. You fire them because they're not being effective at their job.
I want to read you your quote at the end of this chapter. You said, if you find yourself stuck, perhaps you stepped on a piece of unforgiveness. All you need to do is scrape it off and get on your way, Marianne Clyde. That's beautiful. By the way, that's absolutely beautiful. I love this. Marianne, first of all, I want to say thank you. And folks, by the way, we're only halfway through the book, and we didn't even do the first half justice. Okay, I just want to tell you that, everybody, now. We have been on for over an hour and 15 minutes. It feels like it's been 15 seconds just to me. Marianne, it may feel like 3 hours. I don't know, but it just feels,
it goes so quickly.
It really does. I tell this to every guest that I have on the show. You have no idea how fast this goes, and they keep telling me, no, it did. It went really fast. And because we're talking about what you're passionate about, and I love that, and that's awesome. So before we go, and I'm going to, again, say thank you to Inline Business Brokers and Advisors for sponsoring the show. Just go to nline.com, enlign.com. Our new sponsor, Linda Craft and Team Realtors. Check them out at lindacraft.com, LINDACRAFT.com. Marianne, I ask every guest on the show, the show is called A New Direction, to help people find a new direction in their life, their career, their business, or all three. If you could leave the listener with a new direction, what would that be?
Start right now, today, looking for every possibility where you accept responsibility for the way you're thinking and the way you're reacting, because your world is controlled by the way you think. I think personal responsibility is my biggest message.
Folks, you took personal responsibility, how better would your business be? How better would you be in your place of business? Right? You have a choice. You really do. The book's called Zentivity. It's available on Amazon, your favorite bookstore. Get it. Please get it. It's also available Kindle version as well. Check it out. Zentivity is the name of the book. How to Eliminate Chaos, Stress, and Discontent in Your Workplace, brought to you by Balboa. Stay with me, Marianne, if you will, for just a second.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate being here.
And thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. Amazing, wasn't she? Wasn't she not just amazing? I told you this was going to be one of those power pack shows where there's just not enough time in the day. I could talk to her all day and never grow tired. And I adore what she does, and I adore her, and she's just awesome. So, folks, as we close the show, I just want to say this: look, be inspired, because when you're inspired, you can inspire other people, and when you do that, they in turn inspire others as well, and that can make this world an amazingly great place. So, be inspired, folks. I will talk to you next week. Have a great week. Ciao, everybody.
Lost your confidence, and the answers don't make sense. You got to keep your hope alive. You got to know you can survive. This is your time to fly. A new direction, a brand new day. A new direction, things are gonna change. You can find the strength to go a different way. Dreams will take you places you have never been before. Find your passion, find your strength. Don't worry anymore. A new direction. A new direction.